Hey!
We don't kill the living. Shut up.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Back again with Season 8, Episode 2, entitled The Damned review. Alright, guys, we'll just jump right into this. At a Savior outpost in an abandoned insurance office, a group of over a dozen Saviors are going about their business in the courtyard. The Lieutenant Mara is overseeing activities and senses something is wrong. She orders the guards to lock down the building. Just as several vehicles from the militia pull up at a high speed, their occupants opening fire. Several Saviors are gunned down, the rest take cover, as Aaron, Eric, Tobin, Francine, Scott, and numerous other Alexandrians exit their armored vehicles and begin the assault. Meanwhile, at the satellite outpost previously cleared out by the Alexandrians, Morgan, Tara, Jesus, Andy, Freddie, and Diane scout the area, having reclaimed the building to provide extra protection from the outside threats. The Saviors have constructed a moat surrounding it, consisting of 2 fences filled in the middle with walkers. The group create a plan to distract the walkers, creating a gap and allowing Diane to silently take out the guards with her bow. Elsewhere, at the Savior lookout post, Carol and Ezekiel lay stunned by the explosion of the grenade thrown by the lookout. As they recover, they are attacked by walkers and are able to take them out with the help of about a half-dozen kingdomers accompanying them. The Savior, Nelson, has escaped, and Carol warns that he will almost certainly be heading to the outpost in the woods to the north to warn them, in which case they will lose their advantage. Ezekiel confidently declares that they will catch up with him before he can do this, and tells one of his men to return to the staging area and bring the rest of the regiment along with Shiva. Back at the office outpost, the militia and Saviors frantically exchange fire. The Saviors are at a clear disadvantage, pinned into a relatively small area, outnumbered and with inferior cover. Racine tells the others to keep them pinned so they will have bigger problems than us. While this is happening, Rick and Daryl and 3 others enter the building from another direction, silently taking out the 2 guards. While the others stay behind to watch the Saviors retreating inside from the courtyard, Rick and Daryl go from room to room searching for the weapons armory. Outside, Mara tells her people to try and create an opening to exploit. At the satellite outpost, Morgan attracts the walkers in the moat to a specific location, creating an opening which Diane uses to take out the 2 guards. They enter the building armed with silenced handguns, taking out patrols as they make their way deeper in the compound, alongside approximately 24 militia soldiers. They form up outside the various inhabited rooms and await Jesus' signal to attack. In the office building, Rick scrutinizes the layout provided by Dwight. Upon rejoining with Daryl and having swept the ground floor, they deduce that the weapons, including .50 calibers, must be upstairs. Outside, Mara assumes that the militia are too cautious to push up and decides to take the initiative instead. When Scott raises his concern about the Savior spreading out, Aaron reiterates that the plan is to keep them pinned in. At the satellite outpost, Jesus gives a signal and the militia soldiers burst into the rooms and begin taking out Saviors, catching them by surprise. Morgan, Freddie, and Andy prepare to breach a door, but before they can do so, a Savior opens it and they promptly gun him down. Unbeknownst to them, at least a half-dozen others were behind a corner, and before they can react, Freddie and Andy are killed and Morgan is concussed. Rick and Daryl arrive on the second floor, and Daryl expresses doubt about Dwight's instructions that they were accurate. But Rick points out that they have been so far. He tells Daryl that they will use the heavy artillery to take out the Saviors in the courtyard below, bringing a swift end to the battle. They split up. As they sweep the station, Jesus and Tara discover a Savior named Dean, cowering in a closet, having seemingly peed himself in fear. He claims that to be a worker from the sanctuary forced from his family. Jesus decides to show him mercy and let him live. But Tara is furious, desiring to kill the Savior out of revenge for Denise. Outside the room, Diane and the others have been pinned down by Saviors, and the gunfire provides a distraction for Dean to take Jesus hostage, revealing his deception. Before he can shoot Tara, Jesus swiftly disarms him with his skills in martial arts. Regardless, he refuses to kill Dean. Instead, chooses to knock him out and tie him up, much to Tara's disgust. Over the radio, the Saviors order a retreat from the outpost so they can join the others to press the attack. Morgan awakens, wounded but alive. He loads 2 handguns and pursues the fleeing Saviors. At the battle in the office courtyard, Tobin is shot in the shoulder and taken out of the fight. As some of the fallen Saviors begin to reanimate around her, Mara realizes too late that the militia never intended to press the attack. She is swiftly set upon by a walker and killed. In the woods, Ezekiel, Carol, and the Kingdomers pursue Nelson, leaving a trail for the others to follow. Carol is pessimistic for their chances to make it back to the outpost, by Ezekiel reasons that permission doesn't bear thinking about, and remains confident of a successful outcome. They discover fresh blood indicating that one of them hit Nelson, thereby slowing him down. With renewed optimism, they pick up the pace. Daryl searches the office block room to room and discovers a small cavity with a shackled handcuff and stale food. It is a cell for torture, similar to the one that he was subjected to at the sanctuary. Meanwhile, Rick finds a large living space with a neatly kept bedroom. As he tries to break into a locked room, he is attacked by a Savior. The two grapple on the floor. The man pins Rick to the ground and repeatedly punches him in the face, but is forced off. They exchange blows, and the man knocks Rick's gun away when he draws it. Rick finally gains the upper hand, kicking the man repeatedly before grabbing him in a headlock and demanding the location of the guns. The Savior denies the presence of any guns, and he is choked out. An exhausted Rick throws him against a spike on the wall, impaling him. At the satellite station, Morgan marches through the compound, killing every Savior he encounters in a trance-like state. He remembers the exchange that he had with Rick several weeks earlier when he tried to talk them down from fighting the Saviors. Outside, Jesus leads the rest of the fight to the back of the compound, intercepting about a dozen fleeing Saviors, including Dylan, who appears to consist mostly of workers. Heavily outnumbered and outgunned, they surrender without a fight, but Tara angrily declares that even if Maggie listens to Jesus' reasoning, Rick will listen to hers. Meanwhile, Morgan continues his killing spree before finally emerging outside. Still reeling and unbalanced, he is shocked to see the militia taking hostages. He remembers his argument with Rick over whether or not it is worth preserving life, even that of an enemy. He is shaken from his trance when he sees Jared amongst the captured Saviors. He is prevented from killing him by Jesus, who insists that they do not kill those who surrender. Eduardo takes a Polaroid photograph of the Saviors. In the office building, Rick retrieves keys from the dead Savior's pocket and enters the locked room. Inside, to his shock and horror, he finds a decorated child's room and a baby named Gracie, no more than a few months old, asleep in a crib. Realizing that he had killed the infant's father, Rick reels in disgust and dismay. Back in the woods, Ezekiel and the Kingdomers finally catch up to a retreating Savior. Just as the rest of the regiment, over 24 strong, arrive on their heels, Shiva intercepts the Savior and mauls him to death. In the office courtyard, the militia starts to take losses as the Saviors desperately try to push them back. Francine is amongst those killed, shot in the chest when she becomes distracted. Eric witnesses her death and is visibly upset. Aaron and Scott attempt to get better angles on their adversaries, and Aaron sees that Eric is pinned down. He uses a car to run over and kill 3 Saviors before rushing to his side. He is horrified to discover that Eric has been shot in the stomach and he is bleeding profusely. He desperately carries him away from the firefight. Ezekiel and his people regroup in the woods when they hear on the radio that the nearby Savior outpost is sending out an active patrol, indicating that they know the Kingdomers are coming. Despite the concern of his closest advisors, Ezekiel is unfazed and confidently prepares for an upcoming attack. Rick comes across another living quarter in the office outpost and discovers an old family photograph, which seemingly startles him. Just then, a man comes up from behind Rick and holds him at gunpoint. As he turns, Rick is astonished to see Morales, alive and well, clearly hardened by survival. He acknowledges Rick, who tells him that he was in Atlanta. Morales retorts that was a long time ago and firmly tells Rick that is over. He reveals that he has called the Saviors back. A stunned Rick is at a loss for words. Alright guys, that was my quick little review / rundown of Season 8, Episode 2, entitled The Damned. And appreciate y'all checking us out as always. And I'll be back next week with the next episode. Y'all be good.
Welcome to Woodburn. my pants yet?